Born in New York City, Queensboro. Came up playing drums, toured from early 90s, jumped into production, you know, a lot going on from young. Started in church playing drums, you know, so my background has always been kind of like just music, art of some sort. And out here in ATL, you know, I like it down here, kind of even me out. Then on the production end, you know, just like, it was an expansive, progressive thing. Like I just got musical, stayed musical, kept getting musical, and like the drums wasn't enough. And so I had a mentor who, Dinky Bingham, used to play with Guy and all of them, and he basically showed me production. I would say Pete Rock. I used to listen to the radio, and like, you know, when they would debut like cuts from the new albums or whatever, I would get emotional over it. Like it would move me that much, because there was something about hip hop production that I was learning, and I wasn't physically there yet, but he made it sound like a fantasy. And it was like, I couldn't tell what I was listening to. I didn't think of it like, oh, this drum machine and, you know, these chops or whatever. It just hit my ear and it was magic. And it just moved me. Definitely Primo. It was like a lot of bounces. A lot of bounces that, you know, went with New York City. You know, a lot of drug dealer hip hop. You know, DeWick and all that. That was drug dealer hip hop to us. You know, EPMD, drug dealer hip hop. So in the Jeeps, you know, block parties and all of that. So I grew up on that. That was kind of my thing. Finesse gave me my first SB12 lesson in a session with Dinky for Roy Ayers. And Dink was just like, yo, show him the MP. So Finesse was moving at 100 miles an hour, and I was taking notes with him. But you know, that's how I kind of started. My history with De La started really through the deal that I had with Museum Music. My group was signed to Q-Tip and Museum Music with a lecture back in like '97. And what happened was that Phife had some music of mine, and at the time, God bless the deceased, my man Fudge, who was Dave's first cousin from De La. They went down to Phife's crib, and Phife was playing some beats, and Dave heard it and called me at my crib, like right then, you know, which pissed Phife off, because, you know, he was like, yo, I gotta have him. So that's kind of what happened. I got this call out of nowhere. It was Dave from De La Soul called me from Phife's crib. I'm like, yo, these shits is crazy. You know, it's just, you know, and it was history. Me and him and Pops got on the phone, and very shortly we were in the studio. It's still a melody thing. Melody captures my ear. You know, just when I hear melody, it could be the simplest one, it could be the most complex melody, but melody and good rhythm, you know. And I'm hearing a lot of that. Some of the stuff I don't like, but rhythmically, I'm liking a lot of stuff that I'm hearing. It was my first installment. It was time, you know. Everybody had started to know me a little bit too much as just De La's producer, and it was time to at least have a first installment that started on the most basic level, and the most basic level would be a beat tape. But it's more of a conceptual beat tape album than it is a beat tape, one ID to the next. It definitely has peaks and valleys. It shows my ability to put together an album. It's the blueprint for me to spread out and do some other things.